Look at the charity case, everyone. Playing hero to the garbage outside. Patterson's voice boomed across the crowded restaurant as he ripped Noah's employee badge from his chest, leaving a small tear in his only dress shirt. You want to help trash? Join them. Diners froze mid-bite, crystal glasses suspended, as Noah Hayes stood paralyzed under the chandelier's merciless light. The final paycheck he'd counted on for his mother's heart medication now lay in shredded pieces at his feet, fluttering like dying butterflies. Please, Noah whispered, dignity crumbling as his voice broke. My brother's medicine. Should have thought of that before disrespecting MY restaurant. Patterson seized Noah's arm, dragging him past tables of horrified guests. Let me show everyone what happens when you choose kindness over following orders. At the massive glass entrance, Patterson shoved Noah into the torrential rain, his voice carrying to everyone inside. Blacklisted. Every decent restaurant in this city will know your name by morning. You're done in this industry. The door slammed with thunderous finality as lightning illuminated Noah's reflection, a 19-year-old boy with hollow cheeks who hadn't eaten in 3 days so his siblings could have his portion. Now drenched and shaking, Noah stared at his phone's last message, electricity disconnected, followed by the final warning from his mother's doctor. Without this medication tonight, cardiac failure becomes a significant risk. The screen flickered once before dying completely, the service cut off weeks ago. For miles separated Noah from the apartment where 7-year-old Jamie's fever had spiked to 100 for this morning, where 12-year-old Ellie was attempting to keep their bedridden mother alive by candlelight, where the refrigerator stood empty except for half a bottle of expired milk. I'll tell them another lie, Noah whispered, pressing his forehead against the cold glass door as diners averted their eyes inside. That the restaurant's closed for renovations. That help is coming. But no more lies remained that could soften tonight's brutal truth. The only thing standing between his family and complete collapse had been this job. The job his kindness had just destroyed. Noah swallowed the metallic taste of fear as he began the long walk home through knife-sharp rain, rehearsing how to tell his mother that the medicine keeping her heart beating wouldn't come tonight. How to explain to siblings who saw him as their superhero that he had failed them completely. 10 seconds. He allowed himself 10 seconds of naked despair before he would force his face into the mask of confidence his family depended on.
10, 9, 8.
From inside the darkened apartment came the sound that haunted his nightmares, his mother's breathing, suddenly ragged and gasping. Before the story continues, hit the subscribe button. Your subscription isn't just a click. It's a spark of hope, a voice for the unheard, and the life behind every story waiting to unfold. Join Ducal Tales now. What Noah couldn't know as he composed himself to face his family was that the old woman in ragged clothes hadn't just disappeared into the storm. And by morning, the tables would turn in ways no one at the Crown Heights rooftop could possibly imagine, especially for the manager who thought power meant cruelty. But would it matter? When kindness breaks you once, can you ever truly believe in it again? Noah entered the apartment with practiced quiet, his wet shoes squeaking despite his care. The darkness was complete except for the faint blue glow of his mother's oxygen machine, the one bill he'd never let lapse, even when it meant going hungry himself. Noah? Is that you, honey? Catherine Hayes' voice floated from the bedroom, thin but warm. Always warm, despite everything.
Yeah, Mom.
Just got caught in the rain. He slipped off his soaked uniform shirt, grateful she couldn't see the tremble in his hands or the redness around his eyes. Did you eat the soup I left? A pause. I saved it for the kids. Of course she had. Noah closed his eyes, leaning against the wall. His mother had once been the head nurse at Memorial Hospital, respected and vibrant. The autoimmune disease had stolen her career first, then her mobility, but never her dignity. She'd raised him to believe kindness was strength, the very quality Patterson had mocked as weakness. Noah. 12-year-old Ellie appeared from the darkness, her hair in messy braids. Jamie's fever came back, but I got him to sleep. Did you bring the medicine? The medicine he'd planned to buy with tonight's tips. The medicine that now wouldn't come. First thing tomorrow, promise. He ruffled her hair, amazed at how she'd stepped up since their mother's condition worsened. Ellie, with her worn notebook filled with medical terms she'd memorized to help care for their mother. Ellie, who deserved new clothes and dance lessons instead of adult responsibilities. "You're late." Her eyes narrowed suspiciously. "Did that man yell at you again?" Noah forced a smile. "The restaurant's closing for renovations. 2 weeks, maybe more." The lie burned his throat. "But they're giving us all temporary positions at their other locations. Big tips tonight." In the small bedroom they all shared, 7-year-old Jamie slept fitfully, his forehead glistening with sweat. Noah knelt beside him, gently adjusting the thin blanket. Jamie, who still believed superheroes were real and that his big brother was one of them. "I heard Violet called earlier," his mother said when he came to check on her. She sounded upset. Noah's heart sank. Violet Rossi, fellow server and the only bright spot in the toxic environment Patterson had created. Ever since Noah had corrected Patterson's wine recommendation to a VIP customer, saving the restaurant from embarrassment but earning Patterson's undying resentment, Violet had been his shield and confidant. She'd slipped him extra food when he worked double shifts, noticed his worn shoes, and covered for him when family emergencies arose. "Just worried about the renovation timing," he deflected. His mother's eyes, still sharp despite her illness, studied him. "Noah, what aren't you telling me?" The weight of responsibility pressed down harder. 1 year ago, when his father had walked out, Noah had promised himself 2 things. His family would never go hungry, and his mother would never know how close they came to homelessness each month. The prestigious job at the Crown Heights rooftop, with its generous tips and occasional leftover food, had been their lifeline. "Nothing important," he lied again. "Get some rest." Later, as Ellie and Jamie slept, Noah sat by their apartment's single window. 3 floors below, the city glistened after the rain, indifferent to his plight. On the building across the street, a faded billboard advertised the Monarch Group's luxury properties, the same corporation that owned the Crown Heights rooftop, along with half the upscale establishments in the city. Noah stared at the billboard, remembering how Patterson had once boasted about meeting the mysterious owner, a woman no one had publicly seen in years. "Ice Queen," he'd called her. "Cares more about profit than people." But something about that description had never rung true to Noah, who'd studied the company's surprising commitment to community programs. His phone was completely dead now, the battery drained, the service cut off days ago. He wouldn't see the increasingly worried messages from Violet, wondering why he wasn't responding. Noah thought back to the woman from tonight, her rain-soaked clothes, yes, but also her surprisingly steady gaze. The way she'd thanked him with a dignity that didn't match her appearance. The curious way she'd asked his full name before security had been called. A chill that had nothing to do with his wet clothes ran through him. Something about tonight didn't add up. The woman hadn't seemed homeless, not really, just drenched and disheveled. And Patterson's reaction had been extreme, even for him. But none of that mattered now. By sunrise, Noah would need to find work, any work, before his mother's medication ran out and the landlord made good on his eviction threats. He placed his hand on the cold window glass. Somewhere in this glittering, unforgiving city, he'd have to start over. Somewhere, someone would hire a 19-year-old with only a high school diploma and a recommendation that would never come. What he didn't know was that across town, in the penthouse office of the Monarch Group, a woman in dry clothes was reviewing security footage of the Crown Heights rooftop, pausing repeatedly on the face of a young waiter whose kindness had cost him everything. Dawn broke gray and unforgiving as Noah joined the line of day laborers outside Henderson Construction. He'd walked 4 miles in shoes with holes, arriving before sunrise only to find 20 others had beaten him there. The foreman shook his head before Noah even spoke. "No experience, no job. Try the dish pit at Luca's Diner." By noon, he'd been turned away from 7 establishments. Each rejection cut deeper than the last, not for his pride, but for what it meant for Jamie's medicine, for the electricity bill, for his promise to keep his family safe. His last hope was the Blue Spoon, a greasy 24-hour diner whose owner didn't ask questions if you worked hard. The pay would barely cover Jamie's medicine, but it was something. While Noah fought for survival across town, The Crown Heights rooftop buzzed with unusual morning activity. Servers whispered in corners as management raced about in press suits. Violet arrived for her lunch shift to find the restaurant closed to customers, a sleek black town car parked at the entrance. Emergency staff meeting. Patricia from HR announced, her typically stern face pale. Everyone in the main dining room.
Now.
The staff gathered nervously, Patterson front and center with a plastic smile that didn't reach his eyes. 3 strangers in expensive suits stood to one side, conferring quietly. Then she entered. It was the woman from last night, except completely transformed. Gone were the rain-soaked clothes and disheveled appearance. She wore a tailored navy suit, silver hair elegantly coiffed, her posture regal. Recognition rippled through the room in shocked whispers. Ms. Monarch, the billionaire founder of the Monarch Group. The woman whose signature graced their paychecks. The notoriously private owner who hadn't been photographed in 15 years. "Good morning," she said, her voice carrying the same quiet dignity Noah had noticed even through her soaked clothes. "I spent last evening experiencing your establishment, as few owners ever do, from the perspective of someone vulnerable and in need." Her eyes swept the room, landing briefly on each face. "Some of you may be wondering why I would choose such an unusual approach. The answer is simple. Character reveals itself not in how we treat our equals, but in how we treat those who can offer us nothing in return." Patterson's smile faltered as she turned to him. "Mr. Patterson, you've been general manager here for 3 years. In that time, profits have increased 18%. Impressive." Her tone cooled to winter. "Last night you called me trash. You ordered security to throw me into a storm. And when a young man showed basic human decency, you humiliated him, destroyed his final paycheck, and threatened his future." Patterson's face drained of color. "Ms. Monarch, had I known, that's precisely my point." Her voice cut like steel. "You shouldn't need to know who I am to treat another human being with dignity." One of the suited men stepped forward, handing her a folder. "As requested, Ms. Monarch. Noah Hayes' employment file and contact information." Violet, standing near the back, stepped forward hesitantly. "His phone's been disconnected for weeks. He'd never admit it, but I know they've been choosing between bills. That's why he always took the closing shift. The extra tips and leftover food were keeping his family afloat." Eleanor Monarch's expression shifted subtly. "Tell me more about Noah Hayes." "He's brilliant with people," Violet said, confidence growing as she defended her friend. "Remembers everyone's preferences, speaks 3 languages he taught himself to better serve international guests." Patterson started targeting him after Noah corrected his wine pairing suggestion to the mayor last month, saved everyone from embarrassment, but Patterson couldn't handle being shown up by a teenager. "And where would I find him now? I don't know. He needs work desperately. He could be anywhere." Something flashed in Ms. Monarch's eyes. Determination, perhaps, or something deeper. His mother was Catherine Hayes? Former head nurse at Memorial? Violet blinked in surprise.
"Yes."
"How did you?" Eleanor Monarch turned to her associates. "I want him found. Today." Meanwhile, across town, Noah stepped behind the counter at the Blue Spoon, tying a stained apron around his waist. The owner, a heavy-set man named Frank, pointed to a mountain of dirty dishes. $5 an hour, cash daily. No breaks until that's clear. $5 an hour. Illegal, exploitative, and still the best offer he'd had all day. Noah plunged his hands into scalding water, ignoring the burn. 8 hours would give him enough for Jamie's medicine with a little left for bread and peanut butter. Tomorrow he'd try again for something better. His phone, dead in his pocket, couldn't receive the increasingly urgent messages Violet was sending to a number no longer in service. "They're looking for you. The owner wants to meet you. Noah Patterson is fired. Where are you?" By 3 o'clock, Eleanor Monarch sat in her town car, frustrated as her assistant reported failure after failure to locate Noah Hayes. She tapped perfectly manicured nails against the leather seat, considering. His mother, Catherine Hayes, former head nurse at Memorial? "Yes," her assistant confirmed. "Address is in his employee file, but no one answered our calls to the home number. Eleanor Monarch gazed out at the rain-slicked streets, her expression unreadable. "Memorial Hospital," she murmured, almost to herself. "Of course. Ms. Monarch." "Take me there," she ordered.
Now.
Steam billowed around Noah as he scraped crusted egg from a seemingly endless stack of plates. 3 hours into his shift at the Blue Spoon, his hands were raw and blistered, his lower back screaming from hunching over the too-short sink. The kitchen radio blared with news of a stock market surge. The Monarch Group shares up another 12%. "Haze!" Frank barked from the order window. "Customer complaints about water spots. Do them again." Noah glanced at the clock. 3 more hours until he'd have enough for Jamie's medicine. He silently returned 20 clean plates to the dirty pile. "Got a phone I can use?" Noah asked during a brief lull. "Need to check on my brother." Frank snorted. "Pay phone on the corner. 5-minute break, then I dock your pay." Outside, rain had started again. Noah fed his last quarters into the pay phone, fingers trembling as he dialed home. "Hello." Ellie's voice, trying to sound grown-up. "It's me. How's Jamie?" "Worse." Her voice cracked. "Mom says we need the medicine tonight." "Where are you?"
Working.
"I'll have enough soon." Noah closed his eyes. "Did anyone call? Or come by?" "Some lady in a fancy car. I didn't answer the door like you taught me." Noah's heart stuttered. "Creditors? Landlord? Child services? Good girl. I'll be home soon." The line went dead as his time expired. Across town, Eleanor Monarch's town car idled outside the Hayes apartment building. Her assistant returned, shaking his head. No answer, but neighbors confirm the family lives there. Single mother, 3 children. Serious medical issues. Eleanor stared at the building's peeling facade, something unreadable in her expression. Memorial Hospital next. At the hospital, Violet paced the emergency room, stopping nurses to show Noah's picture from her phone. "Please, he might come in for his brother's medication. Can you just call me if—" "Violet Rossi?" She turned to find one of the suited men from the restaurant. "Ms. Monarch would like to speak with you." In the hospital's administrative wing, Eleanor Monarch stood before a wall of photographs, former department heads throughout the decades. Her finger rested on one. Catherine Hayes, head of nursing, 2010 to 2018. "I remember her," Eleanor said when Violet entered. "Brilliant. Compassionate. She treated my husband during his final days." She turned, her usually composed face showing rare emotion. She was the only one who treated him like a person, not a billionaire in a hospital bed. Violet stepped closer. "Mrs. Hayes has the same rare autoimmune condition that took your husband. The treatments are experimental and expensive." Eleanor's eyes flashed. "And her son has been carrying this burden alone? A 19-year-old boy. No one never complains. He just endures." Eleanor's phone rang. She listened briefly before her shoulders slumped. "Another dead end. We've checked every restaurant in the downtown area." "He wouldn't go to restaurants," Violet said suddenly. Patterson's threat would have terrified him. He'd go somewhere Patterson would never eat. She pulled out her phone. "Wait, I remember something. Noah once mentioned a diner where his dad used to take him. Blue something." "The Blue Spoon," Eleanor's assistant supplied, already typing. 20 minutes from here. Back at the diner, Noah's shift had devolved into nightmare. A busload of tourists had arrived, flooding the kitchen with dishes. His hands now bled from tiny cuts, each plunge into the hot, chemical-laced water sending fresh pain shooting up his arms. 2 more hours, Frank announced, eyeing the mounting disaster. "Then I need someone for overnight. Double pay. Double pay. Enough for medicine and groceries. Enough to keep the lights on another week." "I'll stay," Noah said, exhaustion washing through him. His mother would worry, but worry was better than hunger. As dusk fell, the diner's neon sign flickered to life, casting ghostly blue shadows across Noah's face. Outside, 2 black town cars glided to a stop. The bell above the door chimed. Noah, hands submerged in dirty water, didn't look up as Frank greeted the newcomers. Sorry, ma'am. Kitchen's backed up. Hour wait for food. I'm not here to eat. A woman's voice, refined yet familiar. I'm looking for someone. Noah froze, a plate slipping from his fingers, shattering against the sink. That'll come out of your pay, Hayes. Frank shouted. The kitchen door swung open. Noah turned, dripping water and blood onto the grimy floor. Eleanor Monarch stood framed in the doorway, Violet just behind her. For a long moment no one spoke. Then Violet rushed forward. Noah, we've been looking everywhere. Your phone is disconnected, he finished, instinctively backing away, acutely aware of his stained apron, his bleeding hands, the smell of old grease clinging to his clothes. Shame burned through him as Eleanor Monarch approached. Noah Hayes, she said quietly. We need to talk. Frank stepped between them. Look, lady, he's working. Unless you're here to eat. Eleanor never took her eyes off Noah. I'll buy your diner. Name your price.
What?
Frank sputtered. Or I can simply report your labor violations. $5 an hour? No, but a minor working past legal hours. Noah's mind raced.
This had to be about last night.
Was she here to ensure Patterson's blacklisting was complete? To tell him personally he'd never work in a decent restaurant again? Ms. Monarch, Noah managed, his voice steadier than he felt. Whatever Patterson told you, Patterson has been terminated, she said sharply. Effective immediately. Hope flickered briefly before Noah extinguished it. I don't understand. I was the woman you helped last night. The pieces clicked into place, the dignified gaze, the composed thank you. Noah's legs nearly buckled. I've come to offer you your job back. With a significant promotion. Noah glanced at Violet, whose encouraging nod couldn't quite hide her concern. Then he looked down at his bleeding hands. No, he said quietly. Eleanor blinked, clearly unprepared for refusal. I don't think you understand what I'm offering. I understand perfectly. Noah's voice strengthened. You're offering charity because you feel guilty. But I don't want pity, Ms. Monarch. Last night taught me something important. Kindness is a luxury I can't afford. He turned back to the sink. I need to finish these dishes. My brother needs medicine. Eleanor Monarch stood perfectly still, studying the rigid line of Noah's back, the proud set of his shoulders despite everything. Then she turned to her assistant. Call Dr. Winters at Memorial. Tell him Catherine Hayes' son needs medication for his brother. Immediately. Noah whirled around. Don't. This isn't charity, Mr. Hayes, she cut him off. This is correction of an injustice I allowed to happen in my establishment. Before Noah could respond, Frank reappeared, waving his phone. Hayes, your sister's calling the diner. Something about your mother. Noah's face drained of color as he took the phone. Ellie? Her voice came through, high and panicked. Noah, Mom's really bad. She can't breathe right. I called 911, but they're taking forever and Jamie's crying, and I don't know what to. I'm coming, Noah promised, already untying his apron. Right now. He looked at Eleanor and Violet, fear replacing pride. My mother. My car is outside, Eleanor said immediately. We'll take you. As they rushed toward the exit, Frank called after them.
Hayes!
You walk out now, don't bother coming back. Noah didn't even turn. Some prices were too high, even for a family on the edge. Outside, rain poured in sheets as Noah slid into the leather interior of Eleanor Monarch's town car. Riverside Apartments, Building C. Please hurry. As the car sped through rain-slick streets, Eleanor studied the young man beside her, his clenched jaw, his bloodied hands, his eyes fixed on the road ahead. She'd come to offer redemption, only to discover Noah Hayes wasn't seeking absolution. He was fighting for survival. And everything was about to get much worse. The town car screeched to a halt outside Building C. Noah was out before the wheels stopped turning, racing through rain toward the dingy apartment complex, Eleanor and Violet close behind. 3 flights of stairs, the elevator perpetually broken, left them breathless at his door. Ellie! Noah burst inside, heart hammering. The apartment was bathed in actual light, the electricity mysteriously restored. Ellie sat wide-eyed on the worn sofa, Jamie curled against her. Both looked terrified, but physically unharmed. Mom collapsed. Ellie managed, voice trembling. She couldn't breathe. The ambulance finally came. They took her to Memorial 10 minutes ago. Noah swayed on his feet. What happened to the electricity? Some man came and turned it back on. Said the bill was paid. Eleanor exchanged glances with her assistant, who gave a subtle nod. Noah, Eleanor said gently. My car can get us to Memorial in minutes. The emergency room buzzed with controlled chaos as they arrived. Noah approached the desk, still in his stained diner clothes, bleeding hands forgotten. Catherine Hayes. She was just brought in. Family only beyond this point. The nurse responded automatically, not looking up. Eleanor stepped forward.
I'm Eleanor Monarch.
Catherine Hayes is receiving care under my foundation's program. The nurse's head snapped up, recognition flashing across her face. Of course, Ms. Monarch. They've taken Mrs. Hayes to the 3rd floor, the Monarch wing. Noah turned, confusion etched across his face.
What program?
What Monarch wing? Eleanor's expression remained carefully neutral. Let's go upstairs. I'll explain everything. The elevator ride was silent, tension crackling. When the doors opened, they stepped into a hospital wing that bore no resemblance to the crowded emergency room below. Soft lighting, private rooms, state-of-the-art equipment. A plaque on the wall read, "The Thomas Monarch Advanced Care Unit, where hope has no price." A doctor approached immediately. Ms. Monarch, we weren't expecting you today. Dr. Winters, she acknowledged. This is Noah Hayes, Catherine's son. Recognition dawned in the doctor's eyes.
Ah.
I see. He turned to Noah. Your mother is stabilized. The new treatment protocol is working, but she experienced respiratory distress when her oxygen machine malfunctioned. She's resting now. Noah's voice came out hollow. New treatment protocol? Dr. Winters glanced at Eleanor, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. Your mother has been part of our experimental treatment program for 6 months. It's showing remarkable results. The same condition took Mr. Monarch 5 years ago, but the advances since then. 6 months, Noah interrupted, the pieces clicking into horrifying place. My mother has been receiving treatment here for 6 months, and I didn't know? The doctor shifted uncomfortably. I should check on her vitals. Room 312. She'll be glad to see you. As he retreated, Noah turned to Eleanor, betrayal etched across his face. What's going on? Eleanor squared her shoulders. Your mother was selected for an experimental treatment program fully funded by the Monarch Foundation. The same condition took my husband, and I've dedicated significant resources to finding better treatments. And she never told me. Noah's voice cracked. All those nights I worked double shifts, skipped meals, watched Ellie and Jamie go without. She let me think we were drowning. She didn't want charity, Eleanor said quietly. Sound familiar? Noah's hands clenched. I need to see her. Catherine Hayes lay against white sheets, oxygen tubes in her nose, but her color was better than Noah had seen in months. Her eyes fluttered open as he approached. Noah, she breathed. I'm so sorry. The machine. The machine that I didn't know about? He cut in, voice tight. In the hospital wing I didn't know about? With the treatments I didn't know about. Understanding dawned in Catherine's eyes. She reached for his hand. You were already carrying too much. That wasn't your decision to make. The words burst from him. Do you have any idea what it's been like? Ellie doing homework by candlelight? Jamie crying from hunger? Me losing my job because... He stopped, glancing back at Eleanor. Because you showed kindness, Eleanor finished. The very quality Catherine instilled in you. Catherine's eyes widened. You lost your job?
When?
Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me about this? Noah countered. A nurse appeared in the doorway. Mrs. Hayes needs rest. Family can stay, but others. They stay, Catherine said firmly, surprising everyone with her strength. She turned to Eleanor. It's time he knew everything. Eleanor moved closer to the bed. Catherine, are you sure? Tell him, Catherine insisted. Tell him what you told me 6 months ago when you found us. Eleanor took a deep breath, her typically composed demeanor slipping. After my husband Thomas died, I struggled. The company thrived, but I withdrew from public life. Then last year, I decided to find everyone who had shown him kindness during his illness. Her eyes met Catherine's. Your mother was at the top of that list. So this is gratitude? Noah asked. At first, Eleanor admitted. But then I learned more about your family situation. About your father. Noah stiffened. What about him? Catherine's fingers tightened around Noah's. Your father didn't just leave us, Noah. He stole from the Monarch Group. Embezzled funds meant for the hospital foundation, meant for research that might have saved lives. The room tilted beneath Noah's feet.
What?
James worked in our financial division, Eleanor explained. He diverted nearly $2 million before the audit caught it. When confronted, he disappeared. That's not possible, Noah whispered. Dad wouldn't. The money was never recovered, Eleanor continued. But I refused to press charges when I learned he had a family, a wife with the same condition that took my husband, 3 children who would suffer if their father went to prison. Noah sank into a chair, the world reconstructing itself around him. So, the treatments, this hospital wing, it's guilt money? Because my father stole from you?
No, Catherine interjected fiercely.
Your father's actions were his own. Ms. Monarch found us after he left, when things were desperate. She offered help and I refused. Just like you did today, Eleanor added softly. But she didn't offer charity, Catherine continued. She offered partnership. The treatments I receive are experimental. I provide data that helps their research. The Monarch Wing treats others with my condition. It's not charity, Noah. It's progress. Noah's mind raced, reassembling his understanding of the past year. The mysterious bills that somehow got paid when things were at their worst. The landlord who suddenly stopped threatening eviction. The school supplies that appeared for Ellie. Why keep it from me? He asked, voice raw. Because you're too much like me, Catherine replied, tears forming. Too proud. Too determined to carry everything alone. When your father left, you stepped up in ways no teenager should have to. You became the man of the house overnight. And I failed, Noah whispered. I lost my job. I couldn't even afford Jamie's medicine. You didn't fail, Eleanor said firmly. You were failed by your father, by a system that puts profits over people, by managers like Patterson who abuse their power. She moved closer, her usual corporate reserve completely gone. And by me, I should have checked how my restaurants were being run. I should have ensured my managers understood our values. Noah looked up, seeing vulnerability in Eleanor's eyes that mirrored his own. Why did you come looking for me? Really? Because when I saw how you treated a seemingly homeless woman with dignity, without expectation of reward, I recognized Catherine's influence. The same compassion she showed my husband in his final days. Eleanor's voice softened. And because I made a promise to your mother 6 months ago. Catherine nodded. That if anything happened to me, she would look after my children. The revelation hung in the air between them, reshaping everything Noah thought he knew. His father, a thief. His mother, protecting secrets. The mysterious benefactor who'd been silently supporting them, not out of pity, but out of recognition of something valuable in their family. And Noah himself, caught between pride and desperation, between independence and the realization that sometimes accepting help required more courage than refusing it. There's one more thing you should know, Eleanor said, breaking the heavy silence. The position I wanted to offer you wasn't charity. It wasn't even just about making things right. Noah met her gaze. Then what was it? The Monarch Group is launching a new initiative, restaurants that provide job training and opportunities for at-risk youth. We need someone who understands both fine dining and real struggle. Someone with both skill and compassion. For the first time since Patterson had torn up his check, Noah felt something crack in the wall he'd built around himself. I don't know what to say, he managed. Say you'll consider it, Eleanor replied. After your mother is stable. After you've had time to process everything. Catherine squeezed Noah's hand. It's okay to accept help, Noah. It's okay to believe in kindness again. As Noah looked between the two women, one who had given him life, one who had unexpectedly become part of it, the doctor reappeared in the doorway, his expression grave. "Ms. Monarch, may I speak with you? There's been a development with Catherine's test results." The momentary hope that had blossomed in Noah's chest withered as quickly as it had grown. He'd learned long ago that in his world, good news never lasted. And he was right. The hallway outside Catherine's room felt impossibly long as Noah watched Eleanor speak with Dr. Winters, their voices too low to hear. Eleanor's normally composed face paled as the doctor showed her something on his tablet, her hand rising to cover her mouth. Noah stood frozen, unable to move toward what he knew would be devastating news. He'd seen that look before, on the doctor who'd first diagnosed his mother, on the social worker who'd come after his father disappeared, on his own face in the mirror each time he'd silently calculated how many more months they could survive. Eleanor returned, her professional mask slipping back into place, but not quickly enough to hide the truth in her eyes. "Noah, Dr. Winters needs to discuss adjusting your mother's treatment plan." "Don't sugarcoat it," he said, voice hollow. "Whatever it is, just tell me." Eleanor glanced toward Catherine's room, where Ellie and Jamie had now joined their mother. "The experimental treatment has stopped working. The disease has mutated, becoming resistant to the protocol. They need to try something else, something still in early testing stages." "What are the odds?" Noah asked, already knowing the answer. 30% chance of effectiveness, Dr. Winters supplied, joining them. "But there's a complication. The new treatment requires specialized equipment and staff only available at our research facility in Switzerland." The world seemed to tilt beneath Noah's feet. "Switzerland? For how long?" "Minimum 6 months," the doctor replied. "The Monarch Foundation would cover all expenses, of course." Noah's mind raced. His mother in Switzerland. For 6 months. While he did what? Continued washing dishes for $5 an hour? Watched Ellie and Jamie waste away? Accepted charity from the woman his father had stolen from? When would she leave, he managed. "The air ambulance is being prepared now," Dr. Winters said. "Time is critical with this mutation."
"Now."
Noah's voice cracked. "Tonight? I'm afraid so." Noah pushed past them into his mother's room, where Catherine was already explaining the situation to a tearful Ellie and confused Jamie. "It's just for a little while," she was saying, her voice stronger than it had been in months. The urgency of the situation had given her a temporary strength. "Ms. Monarch has arranged for me to get special medicine in Switzerland." "But who'll take care of us?" Jamie asked, his small face crumpling. Catherine looked up as Noah entered, her eyes pleading. "Noah will, just like always. And he'll have help this time." "No," Noah said suddenly, surprising everyone. "I'll bring them to visit you every month. We'll be together." Eleanor appeared in the doorway. "Noah, I've arranged everything for your family while your mother is receiving treatment. A furnished apartment near your sibling's school. A position for you with full benefits and flexible hours. Ellie and Jamie will have everything they need. More charity," Noah said bitterly. "More debt we can never repay." Catherine's voice cut through his self-pity. "Noah Daniel Hayes, this isn't about pride anymore. This is about survival." "I know about survival," he snapped, louder than intended. "I've been keeping this family alive while you kept secrets." The room fell silent. Jamie began to cry. Ellie put her arm around him, looking at her brother with shock. Shame flooded Noah, but before he could apologize, alarms began beeping. Catherine's oxygen levels were dropping. Dr. Winters rushed in with nurses, ushering everyone out. In the hallway, Noah pressed his forehead against the cold wall, the weight of everything crushing him. His mother dying, his siblings terrified, his father a criminal, his own future an abyss of uncertainty.
"Noah."
Eleanor's voice was gentle but firm. "I understand this is overwhelming." "You understand nothing," he cut her off. "You think you can fix this with money and connections? You can't. My father betrayed us all. My mother lied to me for months. And now she's leaving, maybe forever, and I'm supposed to just, what? Accept your job offer? Move into your apartment? Pretend everything's normal?" "Not normal," Eleanor replied calmly. Better. What if I don't want better? Noah challenged. What if I just want my family whole again? What if I just want the truth for once? Violet, who'd been quietly supportive throughout, stepped forward. Noah, you're exhausted and scared. Let's get some coffee. Give you a minute to think. I don't need to think, he said, pulling away from her outstretched hand. I need to be alone. He walked away blindly, taking stairs instead of the elevator, needing to move, to feel something besides the suffocating pressure in his chest. He found himself in a small garden courtyard at the center of the hospital, rain still falling gently around the covered seating area. Noah collapsed onto a bench, the events of the past 24 hours crushing him. Yesterday, his biggest worry had been Patterson's mood. Now his mother was flying to Switzerland, his siblings were about to become his full responsibility, and the woman who owned half the city wanted to what? Adopt them? Save them? Ease her conscience over what his father had done? I thought I'd find you here. Noah didn't look up at the sound of Eleanor's voice. I just need a minute. Take all the time you need. She sat beside him, respecting his space. But first, there's something you should see. She held out her phone, open to an email with an attachment. Noah took it reluctantly. It was a letter, dated 6 months earlier. Dear Ms. Monarch, if you're reading this, it means my condition has worsened and you've told Noah the truth about our arrangement. My son believes strength means carrying burdens alone. He learned this partially from me, but mostly from watching his father abandon us when things became difficult. Noah has sacrificed everything for this family, his education, his dreams, his youth. He works himself to exhaustion, skips meals so his siblings can eat, and still believes he isn't doing enough. I accepted your help not just for the treatments, but because you promised to look after my children if I couldn't. I'm asking you now to keep that promise, especially for Noah. He will resist. His pride runs deep. But beneath that pride is a young man with extraordinary potential who deserves the chance to discover who he is beyond his responsibilities. Please help him see that accepting help isn't weakness. It's how we survive when the world breaks our hearts. With deepest gratitude, Catherine Hayes. Noah's vision blurred as he handed the phone back, his mother's words piercing the armor he'd built around himself. She knew, he whispered. She knew she might not come back from Switzerland. She's fighting with everything she has, Eleanor said gently. But yes, she understood the risks from the beginning. I can't do this, Noah admitted, his voice breaking. I can't be what everyone needs me to be. No one is asking you to be perfect, Eleanor replied. Catherine just wants you to allow others to help carry the weight. Noah looked up at the rain, remembering the elderly woman from last night, Eleanor in disguise, and how natural it had felt to offer her kindness. How that simple act had destroyed everything he'd worked for. And how, in its destruction, it had revealed truths he might never have discovered otherwise. Why did you really come to the restaurant last night? He asked suddenly. Eleanor was quiet for a moment. I make a habit of visiting my businesses anonymously. But I came to the Crown specifically because Catherine had told me about you. About how hard you worked, how talented you were. I wanted to see for myself. And instead you saw me get fired. I saw a young man choose compassion when it cost him everything, she corrected. In that moment, you reminded me of my husband. Thomas built the Monarch Group on the principle that profit without purpose is meaningless. Over the years, I've let that vision blur. She stood, smoothing her immaculate suit. Your mother is asking for you. The air ambulance leaves in an hour. Noah remained seated, paralyzed by the magnitude of the decisions before him. What happens to Ellie and Jamie if I take your job offer? If I can't be with them all the time? They'll have the support they need. A caretaker during your working hours. Continued schooling. Stability. Eleanor paused. And a brother who isn't working himself to death just to keep the lights on. Noah closed his eyes, the exhaustion of months, years, washing over him. And if my mother doesn't come back? Eleanor's voice was steady. Then you'll have the resources to raise your siblings in the way Catherine would want. With opportunities neither of you could provide alone. The doctor appeared at the courtyard entrance. We need to prepare Mrs. Hayes for transport. Noah stood on legs that felt disconnected from his body. He followed Eleanor and the doctor back inside, back to the impossible choice that wasn't really a choice at all. In her room, Catherine was already dressed in travel clothes, an oxygen tank beside her. Ellie and Jamie clung to her hands. "Noah," she said, relief evident in her voice. "I was afraid you wouldn't come back." He moved to her side, taking her free hand. "I'm here, Mom. I need you to promise me something," she said, her eyes clear and determined. "Promise you'll let Ms. Monarch help. Promise you'll take care of yourself along with Ellie and Jamie." Noah looked at his siblings' tearful faces, at Eleanor standing respectfully by the door, at Violet, who'd remained steadfastly present through the entire ordeal. "I promise," he whispered, the words feeling like surrender and beginning all at once. As the transport team arrived, the reality of separation crashed over them. Ellie sobbed against her mother's shoulder. Jamie didn't understand why he couldn't go too. And Noah stood rigid, trying to be strong one last time. "We'll video call every day," Catherine promised as they wheeled her toward the elevator. "And Noah will bring you to visit. This isn't goodbye. It's just until I'm better." At the elevator, she pulled Noah close. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered. "Remember what I've always told you. Kindness isn't weakness. It's the greatest strength there is." And then she was gone, the elevator doors closing on her brave smile, leaving Noah standing between his sobbing siblings, their small hands clutching his. In that moment, he had never felt more alone or more terrified. The weight of responsibility pressed down with crushing force, not just for their physical needs, but for their hearts, their sense of security, their hope. Ellie looked up at him, her young face too serious. "What happens now?" Noah opened his mouth, but no words came. For the first time in his life, he had no answer, no plan, no solution to offer. Eleanor stepped forward, kneeling to Ellie's height. "Now we all work together to make sure your mom gets better. And while she's away, we make sure you and Jamie and Noah have everything you need." "But we don't know you," Jamie said, his voice small. "No," Eleanor agreed. "But your mother trusts me. And I promise, I will earn your trust too." She looked up at Noah, a question in her eyes. This was the moment to accept help or continue struggling alone. To believe in kindness again or surrender to cynicism. Exhaustion crashed over Noah in waves. 24 hours without sleep. His hands still raw from the dishwater. His heart shattered by revelations and separations. "I can't," he began, then stopped. Ellie and Jamie watched him, waiting for the strength he always provided. But there was nothing left to give. "I can't do this anymore," he whispered, and the walls he built finally crumbled completely. 3 days passed in a blur of hospital paperwork, tear-filled video calls to Switzerland, and sleepless nights in the Monarch Group's guest apartment. Noah moved through it all like a ghost, going through motions without feeling, speaking without connection. Eleanor had arranged everything as promised: a beautiful 3-bedroom apartment near the children's school, a kitchen stocked with food, new clothes for all 3 of them. Noah accepted it all with hollow thanks, seeing only charity where Eleanor insisted on opportunity. On the 4th morning, he sat alone at the kitchen island, staring at the business card Eleanor had left him. Executive Training Program, the Monarch Group. A position created for him, with hours that would accommodate Ellie and Jamie's needs. A salary that would ensure they never went hungry again. He still hadn't called the number. A soft knock at the door broke his reverie. Violet stood in the hallway, her usual cheerful expression replaced with determination. "Get dressed," she said, brushing past him into the apartment. "We're going out." Noah shook his head. "I can't leave the kids." "Already arranged. Eleanor's assistant Mira is taking them to the Children's Museum. Ellie's been asking to go for days." She handed him a clean shirt, one of the new ones he'd refused to wear. 10 minutes, Hayes. Don't make me drag you." Something about her no-nonsense tone cut through his fog. 30 minutes later, they sat at a small cafe in a neighborhood Noah didn't recognize. "Where are we?" he asked, his first voluntary words of the day. "Riverside District," Violet replied, sliding a coffee toward him. "This cafe is where I met Eleanor yesterday." Noah looked up sharply. You met with her? Why? Because someone needed to explain you to her. Violet leaned forward. Noah, she's trying to help, but she doesn't understand why you're resisting. I'm not. You are. You're saying yes to the bare minimum for Ellie and Jamie's sake, but you're still punishing yourself. Still believing you don't deserve help. The accuracy of her assessment stung. It's not that simple. Actually, it is. Violet's voice softened. Noah, do you know why I always had your back at the Crown? Why I covered your sections when you needed to leave early for Jamie's appointments? Why I slipped you extra food? He stared at his untouched coffee. Because you're kind. Because 2 years ago, I was you. She waited until he met her eyes. My dad got sick my senior year. Cancer. I dropped out of college to help my mom care for him and my younger brothers. Worked 3 jobs, skipped meals, the whole martyr routine. Noah flinched at martyr, but she continued. Then my aunt stepped in, forced me to accept help, made me go back to school while she supported us. Violet's eyes glistened. I fought it hard. Thought accepting help meant I was failing my family. Turns out, destroying myself wasn't helping anyone. Your situation was different, Noah insisted. Yeah, it was easier. I only had to support my family for 1 year before my dad recovered. You've been doing it since you were 18. She pushed her chair back. Come on, there's something you need to see. They walked several blocks to a gleaming building with the Monarch Foundation emblazoned across its entrance. Inside, the lobby bustled with activity, young people in casual business attire moving purposefully between meetings. What is this place? Noah asked as Violet led him to an elevator. The future, she replied cryptically. They exited on the 5th floor into a large open workspace. To Noah's surprise, he recognized several faces, former servers and kitchen staff from restaurants around the city. Violet, you brought him. A young man approached, grinning. Noah recognized him from the Crown's kitchen, Diego, a line cook who'd disappeared months ago. Noah, this is the Youth Leadership Initiative, Violet explained. Eleanor started it last year. It takes talented people from service positions and trains them for management and entrepreneurship. Diego nodded enthusiastically. I'm in the culinary development program now, creating menus for a new restaurant concept that employs at-risk youth. Noah looked around, bewildered. And Eleanor runs this? She founded it, Diego confirmed. But graduates run it now. That's the whole point, giving people like us the chance to lead, not just serve. As they toured the facility, Noah met more familiar faces, all people who'd shown exceptional skill or character in their previous positions, all now being trained for leadership roles. Some would return to Monarch restaurants as managers. Others would launch community businesses with foundation backing. Why didn't I know about this? Noah asked as they left. Because Patterson blocked anyone he didn't like from applying, Violet explained. He was supposed to identify talent, but he only recommended friends and favorites. That's part of why Eleanor was doing her undercover visits. She suspected something was wrong. They walked to a nearby park, finding a bench overlooking a playground. For a while, they sat in silence. She wants you for the program, Violet finally said. Not out of pity. Not because of your mom. Because she saw what I've always seen, someone with extraordinary potential who just needed a damn break. Noah watched children playing, their laughter carrying across the grass. I don't know if I can trust it. Any of it. Then trust me, Violet said simply. I wouldn't let you walk into something harmful. For the first time in days, Noah really looked at her, at the friend who'd stood by him through everything, who'd searched the city when he disappeared, who was still fighting for him even when he'd given up on himself. Something cracked in the shell he'd built around his heart. I'm scared, he admitted, the words barely audible. What if I accept all this help, start believing things can be better, and then it all falls apart again? What if my mom doesn't come back from Switzerland? What if? What if it works out? Violet interrupted gently. What if your mom gets better? What if Ellie and Jamie get to be kids again instead of mini-adults? What if you get to discover who Noah Hayes is beyond just survival? Before he could answer, his phone rang, A video call from Switzerland. His mother's face appeared, looking exhausted but alert. Noah, she smiled. How are the kids? How are you? We're okay, he said automatically. The doctors treating you well? The best care I've ever had, she confirmed. But I'm worried about you. Ellie says you're not sleeping. Noah glanced at Violet, who moved away to give him privacy. I'm figuring things out, he said. Mom, did you know about the youth leadership program? Catherine's expression softened. Eleanor mentioned it months ago. I thought of you immediately, but you were so determined to handle everything alone. I don't know if I can do it, he confessed. Accept so much help. Start over. Noah, his mother's voice strengthened. Do you remember what you told Jamie when he was afraid to start school? When he cried and said he couldn't do it? Noah nodded. I told him courage isn't about not being scared. It's about doing something even though you're terrified. You've been brave for us for so long, Catherine said. Now be brave for yourself. After the call ended, Noah sat still, his mother's words echoing. Violet rejoined him, saying nothing, simply present. I need to see Ellie and Jamie, he said suddenly. At the Children's Museum, they found the kids engaged in a building workshop with other children. Jamie was laughing, actually laughing, as he constructed an elaborate tower with a boy his age. Ellie, who'd been solemn for months, was animatedly explaining her design to a group of girls. Noah watched from the doorway, something shifting in his chest. For the first time in a year, his siblings looked like children again, not miniature adults burdened with worry. Eleanor's assistant Mira approached quietly. They've been having a wonderful time. Ellie's made friends with the daughter of another Monarch employee. Thank you for bringing them, Noah said, meaning it sincerely for the first time. As they walked home later, Jamie riding on Noah's shoulders like he used to, Ellie asked the question Noah had been dreading. Are we going to stay in the new apartment? Even after Mom comes home? Noah took a deep breath. Would you like that? Ellie nodded cautiously. My room has a desk for homework. And it's close to school, so we don't have to take 2 buses anymore. And there's a park, Jamie added from above. With swings. Simple things, a desk, proximity to school, a park with swings. Things every child deserved. Things Noah hadn't been able to provide despite his best efforts. That evening, after the kids were asleep, Noah stood at the apartment window, looking out at the city that had seemed so indifferent to their struggle. His phone sat heavy in his hand, Eleanor's business card beside it. The choice was clear now, in a way it hadn't been before. This wasn't about his pride. It wasn't about owing or not owing. It was about Ellie having a desk for homework, Jamie having a park with swings, his mother having the best possible treatment. And maybe, just maybe, it was about Noah having a chance at something beyond mere survival. He dialed the number. Eleanor Monarch speaking. Noah took a deep breath. It's Noah Hayes. I'd like to accept the position in the youth leadership program. If the offer still stands. It does, she replied, and he could hear the smile in her voice. When would you like to start? Noah thought of his siblings sleeping peacefully, of his mother fighting in Switzerland, of Violet who'd believed in him even when he couldn't believe in himself. Tomorrow, he said firmly. I'd like to start tomorrow. As he hung up, a text came through from Violet. Proud of you, Hayes. See you at orientation. For the first time in days, maybe years, Noah felt something unfamiliar unfurl in his chest. Not quite happiness, but its precursor. Hope. The next morning, as he prepared to leave for his first day, Jamie clung to his leg. You'll come back, right? He asked, fear in his small voice. You promise? Noah knelt to his brother's level, suddenly understanding the root of the child's anxiety. In Jamie's experience, when people left, like their father, like their mother now, they didn't always return. I promise, Noah said, with absolute certainty. I will always come back to you. We're a family, and that's what families do. They find their way back to each other. As he spoke the words, Noah realized he was finally beginning to believe them himself. 6 months transformed Noah Hayes in ways he could never have imagined. The youth leadership program wasn't charity. It was the most demanding challenge he'd ever faced. 14-hour days split between intensive training and executive classes. Weekends spent developing business plans with his cohort. Late nights catching up on the education he'd sacrificed when his father left. Through it all, the support system Eleanor had promised held firm. Mira became like family, ensuring Ellie and Jamie thrived while Noah worked. Weekly video calls with Catherine in Switzerland kept them connected as her treatment progressed, slowly but steadily showing improvement. Today marked Noah's final test, presenting his community restaurant concept to the Monarch Group's executive board. If approved, he would become the youngest restaurant director in the company's history. As Noah adjusted his tie, his first real suit, tailored to fit, Ellie appeared in his bedroom doorway. "You look like someone important," she said, a hint of wonder in her voice. "Just your brother," he replied, but without the self-deprecation that would have colored those words 6 months ago. "Mom's calling," Jamie announced, tablet in hand. "She wants to wish you good luck." Catherine's face appeared on screen, her color better than it had been in years. The Swiss treatment had worked miracles, stabilizing her condition enough that her return was scheduled for next month. "Ready for your big day?" she asked. Noah nodded. Nervous, but ready. "Remember what matters," she said simply. "No matter what happens in that boardroom, we're proud of you." As Noah rode the elevator to the penthouse boardroom, he thought of how much had changed. The desperate young man who'd washed dishes for $5 an hour now understood balance sheets and profit margins. The boy who'd shouldered every burden alone now led a team. The soul who'd begun to believe kindness was weakness had rediscovered it as his greatest asset. The boardroom doors opened to reveal a full table, Eleanor at the head, surrounded by executives in expensive suits. And there, in a visitor's chair near the back, sat a familiar face that stopped Noah cold. Patterson. Noah's former manager looked diminished somehow, his arrogance replaced with something approaching humility. Noah's presentation folder nearly slipped from his suddenly damp palms. Eleanor rose, nodding toward the unexpected guest. "Mr. Patterson has joined us at my invitation. I believe in addressing the past directly. Please, begin when you're ready." For a heartbeat, Noah considered fleeing. The memory of that rainy night, his paycheck torn to confetti, the public humiliation, flooded back with visceral force. Then his phone buzzed in his pocket. A text from Violet. "Remember who you are." Noah straightened his shoulders and stepped to the front of the room. "Good morning. I'm Noah Hayes, and I'm here to present Second Chance Tables, a restaurant concept that combines fine dining excellence with community impact." For 30 minutes, Noah outlined his vision, a restaurant staffed by young people from challenging backgrounds, mentored by industry professionals, serving food that honored diverse cultural traditions. The profit model included living wages, education benefits, and career advancement pathways. "In essence," he concluded, "we're not just serving meals. We're serving opportunity, because everyone deserves a second chance at the table." The room fell silent. Then Eleanor spoke. "Questions from the board?" The CFO leaned forward. "The profit margins are ambitious. How would you maintain them while providing these benefits?" Noah didn't hesitate. "By eliminating the greatest cost in restaurant management, turnover. When staff are valued, trained, and given genuine opportunity, they stay. Our model shows 40% savings in training costs alone." The questioning continued, ruthless and specific. Noah fielded each inquiry with growing confidence, his research thorough, his answers measured. Finally, Eleanor turned to Patterson. "You've worked with Mr. Hayes. Your assessment?" Patterson cleared his throat, discomfort evident. "The Noah Hayes I knew wasn't ready for management. But that's clearly changed." "And the concept itself?" Eleanor pressed. Patterson hesitated. "It's kinder than our traditional model, which I would have called weakness 6 months ago." He met Noah's eyes directly. "I was wrong." The admission hung in the air between them, not quite an apology, but an acknowledgement that carried its own weight. Eleanor stood. "The board will deliberate. Mr. Hayes, please wait outside." In the hallway, Noah released a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. His phone buzzed with encouraging texts from Violet and the other program participants. 20 minutes later, Patterson emerged from the boardroom, stopping awkwardly before Noah.
They're still talking, he said.
But I wanted to say something privately. He straightened his tie, visibly uncomfortable. I was terminated after that night. Couldn't get hired anywhere decent. Ended up managing a fast food place in the suburbs. I'm sorry, Noah said, surprised to find he meant it. Don't be. Best thing that ever happened to me. Patterson's usual arrogance had vanished. Eleanor offered me this chance to observe today because I've applied to your program, to learn what I clearly don't know about leadership. Before Noah could process this revelation, the boardroom doors opened. Eleanor beckoned him inside. The executives remained seated, expressions unreadable. Noah stood before them, prepared for either outcome. Mr. Hayes, Eleanor began formally. The board has reached a unanimous decision. She paused, and for the first time since Noah had met her, a genuine smile spread across her face. Congratulations. Second Chance Tables is approved for immediate development. You'll open your first location in 3 months, with 2 more to follow if benchmarks are met. The room erupted in applause. Noah stood stunned as executives rose to shake his hand, to offer business cards, to suggest collaborations. When the room finally cleared, only Eleanor remained. You've exceeded every expectation, she said. But I suspect you know that. Noah nodded, emotion making speech difficult. There's one more thing, Eleanor continued. Your mother's doctors called this morning. She's been cleared to return next week, not next month. Her recovery has accelerated beyond their projections. Joy surged through Noah, nearly overwhelming him. Does she know I'm presenting today? She knows more than that. Eleanor handed him an envelope. This arrived from Switzerland yesterday. I was instructed to give it to you after the board's decision, regardless of outcome. Inside was a handwritten note in his mother's familiar script. My dearest Noah, whatever happened in that boardroom today, know this. The true measure of your success isn't in business plans or board approvals. It's in the strength you've shown by opening your heart again, by accepting help not as charity, but as the community we all need to thrive. The kindness that Patterson punished in you is the very quality Eleanor recognized as leadership. Never forget that compassion isn't weakness, it's the courage to see beyond yourself. I'm coming home to a son who has not only kept our family together, but has grown into the man I always knew you could be. With all my love and pride.
Mom.
Noah looked up, tears blurring his vision. I don't know how to thank you for everything. Eleanor shook her head. This wasn't my doing. I simply removed the barriers. You built the path forward. As Noah left the Monarch Tower that afternoon, he paused in the same spot where, 6 months earlier, he'd stood in rain-soaked clothes, believing his life was over. His phone rang, Violet calling to hear the news. They said yes, he told her, joy finally breaking through his professional composure. All of it. The restaurant, the funding, everything. Never doubted it for a second, she replied. Not since that night when you gave up your meal to a stranger in the rain. Noah smiled, remembering. That feels like a lifetime ago. It was, Violet agreed. So, Director Hayes, where to now? Noah looked across the street, where Jamie and Ellie waited with Mira, holding a handmade sign. Congrats, Noah. In 1 week, their mother would join them, completing the family that had nearly broken under the weight of secrets and struggle.
Home, Noah said simply.
I'm going home. But first he had one stop to make. At the corner stood a woman in tattered clothes, holding a sign asking for help. Passers-by averted their eyes, hurrying past. 6 months ago, Noah might have done the same, his own trauma having taught him caution. Today, he approached her without hesitation, offering not just money but connection. A card for Second Chance Tables, an invitation for a hot meal, a conversation about opportunities. Because now he understood what his mother had always taught him, what Eleanor had recognized in him, what he had nearly lost in that rainy moment of humiliation. Kindness wasn't his weakness. It had always been his greatest strength. 1 year later, the grand opening of Second Chance Tables' 3rd location sparkled with success. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city where, just 18 months earlier, Noah had wandered in the rain, desperate for any job that would keep his family afloat. Now, as executive director of Monarch Group's fastest-growing division, he moved confidently among investors and community leaders who had gathered to celebrate. "Noah," Violet called, weaving through the crowd. As Second Chance's operations manager, she'd been instrumental in translating Noah's vision into reality. Her eyes sparkled with excitement. "Channel 7 is here for the interview. Are you ready?" Before he could answer, Eleanor Monarch appeared at his side, elegant as always, but with a warmth that had become familiar over the past year. "They're specifically requesting both of us," Eleanor said, her hand resting briefly on Noah's shoulder. Their relationship had evolved from benefactor and recipient to genuine partners, their combined vision creating something neither could have built alone. As they moved toward the media area, Noah glanced across the restaurant. At a corner table sat Catherine Hayes, her health transformed by the Swiss treatments, her eyes bright as she chatted with the restaurant's young staff. Beside her, Ellie and Jamie enjoyed mocktails with new friends, children of other Monarch executives who had become extended family. The interview went smoothly, Noah speaking with an assurance that no longer surprised him. When asked about the inspiration behind Second Chance tables, he shared the story that had become something of a legend within the company. "It began with a rainy night and an act of kindness that cost me everything," he explained. "Or so I thought at the time. And became the beginning of something extraordinary," Eleanor added, the pride in her voice unmistakable. Later, as the celebration continued, Noah found a moment of quiet on the restaurant's terrace. The city lights glittered below, beautiful in a way he'd been unable to see during those dark days of struggle. "There you are." His mother joined him, moving with an ease that still seemed miraculous after her years of illness. "Hiding from your own success?" Noah smiled, just taking it in. "Sometimes, I can't believe this is real." Catherine studied her son's face. "I can. I always knew you were capable of this. You just needed the chance to be more than our family's caretaker." "I wouldn't have accepted that chance without you pushing me," Noah admitted. "Your letter that day, it changed everything." "No," Catherine shook her head. "You changed everything, Noah. The moment you decided to help a stranger in the rain, knowing it might cost you your job. That decision revealed who you truly are." The terrace door opened as Ellie appeared. "Noah, Mr. Patterson is here with his first graduating class. They want to meet you." Noah nodded, still finding it surreal that his former manager now ran the training program at their original location. Patterson's journey from tyrant to teacher had been unexpected but genuine, his own second chance proving as transformative as Noah's. Inside, 6 young people in crisp uniforms stood nervously by the bar. Noah recognized himself in their tentative posture, their cautious hope. Each had come from circumstances similar to his own, family responsibilities beyond their years, education interrupted by necessity, potential buried beneath survival. "Mr. Hayes," one young woman stepped forward. "We wanted to thank you. Before this program, I was working 3 minimum wage jobs just to help my grandmother with rent." Noah shook each of their hands, remembering his own disbelief when opportunity had finally appeared. "The real work starts after graduation," he told them. "But we'll be with you every step of the way." As the evening wound down, Noah found himself standing between Violet and Eleanor, watching his family across the room. Catherine laughed with Jamie, her health now stable enough for her to work part-time as a consultant for the Monarch Foundation's medical initiatives. Ellie, flourishing academically with proper support, explained her science project to an impressed investor. "Quite a different scene from that night at the Blue Spoon," Violet remarked, her hand finding Noah's. Their relationship had deepened gradually over the past year, building on friendship and shared purpose until it blossomed into something neither had expected. Noah interlaced his fingers with hers, the simple gesture communicating volumes. "I've been thinking about something," Eleanor said, observing the moment with approval. "The Foundation's international expansion. We've had interest from partners in Europe, Asia, the Middle East. They want to replicate what you've built here." Noah raised an eyebrow. "You want me to consult?" "I want you to lead it," Eleanor corrected. "As global director. It would mean travel, establishing programs worldwide, speaking at international conferences. I don't know, Noah hesitated. My family would be part of it, Eleanor assured him. Catherine's doctors are connected to medical centers worldwide. The children's education would benefit from international exposure. She smiled. It's not a directive, Noah. It's an opportunity. Consider it. As Eleanor moved away to speak with departing guests, Violet squeezed Noah's hand. She's right, you know. You've created something that could help people everywhere. It wasn't just me, Noah said, his gaze following Eleanor. I never would have made it without her believing in me. Without you fighting for me when I couldn't fight for myself. That's what family does, Violet replied simply. And you have quite a family now, biological, professional, chosen. Looking around the room, Noah saw the truth in her words. His circle had expanded beyond blood relation to include mentors, colleagues, friends who had become essential to his life. The isolation he'd felt that rainy night, the crushing belief that he had to carry everything alone, felt like a distant memory. As the last guests departed, Noah gathered his team for a final toast. Staff members from all 3 locations had come to celebrate, many of them graduates of the program themselves. To second chances, he raised his glass. And to remembering that our past struggles don't define us, they prepare us. After the toast, Catherine approached with Ellie and Jamie. It's getting late. We should get these 2 home. I'll bring them, Mira offered. Though Noah's family no longer needed full-time assistance, she remained a cherished part of their lives. You deserve to enjoy your success a little longer. As his family said their goodbyes, Noah felt a profound sense of peace. The apartment they now shared was filled with light and laughter. His mother was healthy. His siblings were thriving. His career had purpose beyond paycheck. And his heart, once so carefully guarded, had reopened to possibilities he never dared imagine. Later that night, Noah and Violet walked along the river where, not so long ago, he'd lived in an apartment with no electricity, no hope, and no future he could envision beyond mere survival. I want to show you something, he said, leading her to a bench overlooking the water. From his pocket, he withdrew a small black box. I've been carrying this around for weeks, waiting for the right moment. Violet's eyes widened as he opened it, revealing a simple but elegant ring. I'm not rushing, he promised. We can have as long an engagement as you want. But I know with absolute certainty that you're the person I want to build my future with. He took a breath. You saw me at my lowest and never wavered. You fought for me when I couldn't fight for myself. You showed me that accepting love isn't weakness, it's courage. Tears glistened in Violet's eyes as she nodded, words momentarily beyond her. When he slipped the ring onto her finger, their futures seemed to align with perfect clarity, not because everything was certain, but because they would face the uncertainties together. As they walked home beneath a sky full of stars, Noah thought about the journey that had brought him here. From a desperate young man hiding his tears outside a darkened apartment to a leader helping others find their way through similar darkness. From someone who believed kindness was a liability to a man who had built his success on compassion as a founding principle. His phone buzzed with a text from Eleanor. The international partners are eager to meet. Breakfast meeting tomorrow? Noah smiled, typing his response. I'll be there. With ideas. The future stretched before him, bright with possibility, not just for himself, but for Ellie and Jamie, for his mother, for Violet, and for all the people whose lives would be touched by the programs he was building. Second chances multiplying across cities and countries, creating ripples of opportunity that would outlast any individual success. And it had all begun with one simple act of kindness on a rainy night. A moment when he'd chosen compassion over self-preservation, not knowing it would eventually lead him back to himself. Noah Hayes had lost everything because of kindness. And through kindness, he had gained a world he'd never dared imagine. Have you ever experienced a moment when kindness seemed to cost you everything, only to discover it opened doors you never knew existed? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you haven't yet subscribed to join our Ducal family, What are you waiting for? Subscribe and turn on the notification bell.